Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with his good friend, Mr. Adrian Hernandez. How you doing, sir?
What's going on, everybody? Let's go. Excited about this call. Well,
Yeah,
excited about all the calls.
This is an important topic, and let me just kind of set it up with what I've been telling folks. So for the last 3 weeks or so, I've been telling you that July 20th is an important day.
Yep.
If you don't know what it is, today's that day. It's the day the National Association of Realtors comes out with June actuals, and they're bad. They're just bad, right? Transactions now 5.12. We did 6.1. They're down 1 million already and going to get worse.
Crazy.
The housing transaction crash is happening right now around us, and there's more negativity coming. Something hopefully you see on my channel is we deal with real world. We talk about the real stuff, but we try to show you where the bright light is, how you should look at negative and realize that opportunity sits right behind that. So Adrian is talking about handling negativity in a positive world. And we just need to think about this. Because again, I have little tricks. The best one I could tell you today is every single negative article I read, and believe me, they're going to ramp up. My internal clock tells me there goes 2% of my competition.
Yep.
It's just how I handle negativity. So I smile with every crash video, with every YouTube talking about crash. And I just smile. I'm like, thank you. Thank you very much. Let's go.
More money. You guys, it's always, we're always battling between two different worlds, a negative world and a positive world. And the issue is that the negative world is much more powerful than the positive world. Much more positive, much more powerful. And the reason being is because there is much more negativity than there is positivity. There's much more negativity than there is positivity. And if you look at the news, if you look at anything out there, it is much more. If I go to the gym in the morning, there are 5 TVs that are on, and 4 of those are all showing negative news. And when I happen to look up, every single one of those TVs is showing somebody died, some police chase. So if you turn on the radio, there's nothing but negative news lines. If you look at a newspaper, there's nothing but negative news lines. Negative news is so much more powerful and so much more out there than positive news. So when we understand that, right, understanding it is number one. Once we can understand that, then we can understand what we need to do about it. And what we need to do about it is we need to shut it off. We need to shut it off because you're going to live in either a positive or you're going to live in a negative world. There is no in between. There is no in between. So the moment you start to listen to that negative headline, that's when you wake up a little bit more negative. And now all of a sudden, you may earn 100 grand, but you're going to look at the money you lost, not the money you earned. Everything is just negative. It doesn't matter what happens. The most beautiful thing can happen to you, and you're still negative about it. And I see this happening, guys. And the reason why I study people and I see this occurring, and it's a spiral effect. But the same thing happens positivity. And if we can just change the perspective, if we can turn off the negative news and listen to, YouTube, or read something that's a little bit more positive, or say words that's going to captivate us to move us in a different direction, that's what we need to do. And we need to understand that you have a choice. The world does not define what you think. You define that. But if you allow the world to set whatever it needs to set on you, then that's what you're going to falter to. So for all of us, guys, we have to, number one, make the decision. Number 2, we have to learn to shut it all off. And then number 3, most importantly, we need to start to speak into our life positivity. When I see a penny on the floor, I pick it up and I tell myself, money flows to me easily and effortlessly in ever increasing amounts. And I did it the other day at a gas station. I was with a buddy of mine, and he's like, why did you pick up that penny? And then, did you not hear what I said? And he goes, no, I heard you, but why did you pick it up? It's on the ground. And I go, because money flows to me easily and effortlessly. And he was quiet. He didn't say anything. And we get back in the truck and we keep driving. And then we keep driving. And then all of a sudden he starts being like, dude, I didn't understand how powerful that was. He's like, now that I think about it, now that I really, really think about it, I walk over pennies all the time. I see them, but I don't pick them up. And then I always ask myself, why don't I see all these other people making money, but why aren't I earning that much money? And it's because of this blockage. It's because of a simple little thing like that, a simple little hack. When you see a penny on the floor, how that changes the mind, how that changes the energy that we give off. And then it's interesting. Later on that day, I got like a random $10,000 wire. I don't know where it came from.
No, that's just terrible.
And I literally, it popped in my phone and I was like, look, dude, money flows to me easily and effortlessly. He goes, what is that? I have no idea. I'll find out later.
Yeah.
But like, I had no idea that was coming.
Yeah.
And it was just weird how it all happened on that day. But it's very similar, guys, to like a parking spot. You ever pull into a parking lot and you tell yourself, there's no way I'm going to find parking in here? Guess what happens? You're not going to find any parking.
Yeah.
When you go into a parking lot and you go, all right, I'm going to find a parking spot and it's going to be right up front and it's going to be right there. And then all of a sudden, I may have to make one lap. I may even have to make 2 laps. But guess what? The parking spot opens up. Because what we say and what we feel and the energy and that vibrate, I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but everything that we give off as we speak into the world will then become reality. And it's really important, guys, because in this market change, you have 2 ways to deal with this. Number 1, you're not going to do any deals. You're not going to have any business. You're going to lose money. Or number 2, I love what is going on and I cannot wait to capitalize and make more money than I've ever made in my entire life.
Yeah. I love all of that. So again, I live in the YouTube world. Again, we've said this, I think, in an earlier video today. If you want to grow a YouTube channel quickly, the only answer is preach fear and negativity. There are channels out there that are talking about food rationing and, just really, really scary stuff that, frankly, when I've watched a couple of them, I'm like, I don't even know why I would get out of bed. This stuff is so scary. So the answer in YouTube is, if you're following one of those channels, you need to unfollow.
Yep.
You don't, it's not helpful. It's not helpful, right? If you come to a channel like mine, I'm going to tell you the bad news that are just facts, right? We talked today, transactions are down. I don't know. I'll read you some of the stats. I have them right in front of me. If you are in Las Vegas, transactions are down 24.1%. If you're in Minneapolis, down 15.4. Denver, 23.6. I'll give you the facts. But then we're going to look at it rationally. If you're an investor, right, you're following one rental at a time, I have great news for you. Transactions crashing, it's going to drive buyers to be afraid. It's going to drive FOMO from sellers. And inside of that, it is going to be increasingly easy to find motivated sellers. And here's the deal, Adrian. Today, those motivated sellers might take a small discount. We wait 6 months, unemployment goes up a point. You and I now are talking about sub-2 seller financing. I plan to buy more units with less cash in the next 18 months than I had in the last 2 years.
Yep.
Because I have the right mindset. I'm looking. I am investing ahead. I have this housing crash postcard that my team is sending to duplex through quad owners because I'm being proactive.
Yep.
I am painting the vision of seller financing. I'm putting it out there because I know it's going to happen. I don't know which one, but I have every confidence it will happen. It will likely happen multiple times. And I just believe it. So good.
It's what you tell yourself after you hear the bad news that matters.
Oh, yeah.
So when you hear that down negative 21%, I want you to get excited, not fearful. I want you to, because there's 2, again, we're choosing a world, right? We're choosing a world, red or blue pill, right? You're choosing one or the other. Right. So when you hear that negative news line, I know a lot of people that go down negative 21%. I'm never going to get a deal. There's no way this is going to happen. If I didn't get a deal 3 months ago, there's no way this is going to happen. I might as well just get out. Versus 21%. Oh, now's my time. That means that more people are going to get out of the industry. That means more people are going to stop trying as hard. Yes. And that creates a different thought. The thought creates a different emotion. The emotion creates a different action, and the action drives a different result.
Exactly.
Change the thought, guys.
Yeah. And that's why the biggest hack I can give anyone is anytime you read negative news, simply tell yourself, there goes 2% of my competition.
Huge.
It's that simple.
And for those of you that suffer really bad with negative thoughts, because I used to, right? It's just when I was brand new into the business, I was 19 years old. I had a bunch of negative limiting beliefs. So I wore a rubber band on my wrist for the longest time. Because what it is the pattern. I want you guys to all know, all we're doing is falling into a pattern that either we got as a kid or from our parents or grandparents or someone we looked up to, whatever the case may be. And they're not wrong, right? But just so happened to be. So I had a rubber band, and every time I would say something negative, I would slap that rubber band. I would pull it back and slap it and slap it. There were times where there were welts on my wrist from me slapping this rubber band. But the trick is after I slapped the rubber band, I would tell myself new thoughts, new empowering thoughts. So let's just say one of the thoughts were, I'm too young. I would have that thought and I would start snapping the rubber band, and I would tell myself, my age will help me get more business. My age will benefit me more in the future. Because I'm young is why people want to work with me. And I changed the thought, right? And I would snap the rubber band and snap it, and eventually we changed the pattern. So for all of you, it's just a simple thing you can do. Find a rubber band. You're going to look like a weirdo slapping it, right? But who cares? But you're taking charge of your mind. And then I just want to let you know this. If you choose not to, then do not be upset because of the world you live in. That's your choice. That's your fault. And there's no one else to blame. You cannot blame mom. You cannot blame dad. You cannot blame your kids. You cannot blame your coach. You are responsible for the way that you feel and act. And the moment you can take ownership of that, and the moment you can choose to make a different decision and buy into a different thought, that's the day your life changes.
Yeah. It's funny. That's kind of a great way to wrap up this in video number 2 today. We talked about, I celebrated a 50th birthday, and I told you I had no regrets. The answer lies in the fact that I own all of my decisions. I've never given anyone else power over any of my good or bad decisions. They were all mine. I didn't blame mom, didn't blame dad, didn't blame this, didn't blame that. It's all on me. And you've got to own stuff. When I talk to people, and when you do what I do, you bump into people all the time. I don't know what the percentage. I would go 70%. It really starts with blame. They start singing a song and it's all about blaming others. And sometimes I got to go, dude, stop.
Yeah.
When are you going to own something?
Yep.
So
huge. And you guys stop hanging out with the people that are so negative.
Oh,
there are some people that just cannot be saved. And if you're listening to this, if you're listening to this, that means that you are thinking in the right direction. Everyone else, you cannot uplift the downtrodden. Leave them alone. Go
not
find
your
a new
responsibility. Yeah. Rule number 7 is that exact. Audit your personal network.
There
are they
is.
helping or hurting you?
There
It is
it
on
is.
that, because your network, dude, I can look at most people's network and go, oh, I know where you're going.
Yep. And you got to do a friend audit, and you got to look at it and go, who's negative, who needs to stay and who's not needs to stay. I'll never forget this. At 19 years old, when I got into the business, I drew a line down the middle of the paper. And on the left-hand side, I wrote down everybody who was a negative influence in my life. And on the right-hand side, I wrote everybody who was a positive influence on my life. The negative side had family, had friends, had colleagues, had coworkers, and I got rid of everybody on the left-hand side.
Yeah. Folks, do yourself a favor. Do that audit this weekend. I bet you would be shocked. The list on the left is longer than the one on the right. That's on you. You own that. They're your friends. Yep. You make the choice. Audit, and again, auditing your network is not a one-time thing. I have changed my personal network, my circle of 5 friends several times over the last 20 years, because sometimes they grow, you grow, life happens. They were positive, then they got negative. It's an ever increasing cycle. So, Adrian, where can people find you?
Instagram at Adrian Hernandez. Zuber, appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, brother.